Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. We're here, and it's time for our post-show reactions. We are here. They're showing us the recap right now. I'm gonna mute that so that we can talk about it, and then I'll just kind of rewind it, I guess, and scroll around and blah blah blah. All right. So what do we think? That was an hour and a half of everything Xbox for the next 12-ish months. What do we think overall? Thoughts?
I thought that was a great showing.
I thought that was their best showing in years.
Yep.
Literal
Agreed.
years.
I am very happy that they took the Bethesda approach, because that's something that Bethesda had done for the last couple of years before they were purchased by Xbox. Is everything we're showing you today is coming out in the last 12 months. And the big divergence from that was showing Starfield and showing that stupid teaser for the Elder Scrolls 6. That is the only time they have ever diverged from just showing shit that's coming out within the next year.
I think
I'm
literally
very happy.
Yeah. The only reason they did that was because people were fucking nuts over it.
That was the year after Fallout 76 came out and everyone was frustrated. So they had to be like, hey, we still got this shit you guys love, you know? But I'm very happy that Xbox took that approach, and I think it was smart. I think they've been a little aggressive with their announcements recently. Announcing Perfect Dark while it was still in pre-production and stuff like that is...
there's a lot of things.
A big miss, you know? But to me, this was by far their best conference they've ever done. And they make good showcases. They've always been good at showing off their shit. But I think this hit on every single, there's something that every person who has a PC, has an Xbox, took away from this and said, yeah, I can subscribe to Game Pass for that.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think that the only disappointment in this is that 2023 was a huge focus, and I feel like there's so much about 2022 that we obviously know that the third party is going to be a big play here, and that's not what this was about. This was mostly about any console exclusives that they were able to nail down and their first party studios. So we know now that there's nothing that's of huge note from the first party studios for the rest of this year. We are getting obviously new seasons of content. We got Grounded launching its 1.0 basically.
Forza DLC.
You got a lot of that stuff. Yeah, Sea of Thieves getting its season 7. So that's basically their strategy, you can tell, for the rest of the year. So that is a little disappointing to the person that wants to see, was hoping for more original content coming out of Xbox.
My only minor gripe is they showed that graphic that was everything coming to Game Pass in 2022 and 2023. I wish they would have just had a sizzle reel of the third party titles. Show 2 to 3 seconds with a nameplate of what these games are, because Valheim was on there and they've announced that, but that's a big deal. Putting that on your sizzle reel during your summer Game Fest thing and just kind of flexing that a little bit, I think would have been good. And I think it would have made people like you, Steve, feel a little better about what's happening this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, like a Valheim is not something that I would even think would be an Xbox thing. I'm more interested in, and it's the same thing with PlayStation, and it's the same thing with Nintendo. I'm just interested in what those guys or those companies are coming out with in the immediate future. I just want to know what the next 6 months is going to look like, right. And this was okay, the next 6 months is looking like games you already play are going to get updates, going to get big content drops. They're going to get and we're going to be flooding your Game Pass with more third-party indie games, new games that you've played maybe elsewhere, that are going to be on there. And that's fine. That's what Xbox's next 6 months. And unfortunately, it seems like that's what PlayStation's next 6 months is going to be also. And so I just feel like 2022 is continuing to be kind of a throwaway year for the big first party efforts. Nintendo, of course, they're still hyping up Breath of the Wild 2, and they still have. I mean, I don't care about that, but there's still a couple of things, Splatoon 3 and stuff like that. But like, I was really hoping that we were going to get a little bit of a surprise, like maybe a Fable, or just something that was like, hey, yes, but 2022, we still have something. We still have a big heavy hitter. And I just didn't really see that. However, I did see. Let's see. I got 4, 8. I got 10 games on my list that are definite reason. Like, I'm going to play this on Game Pass. High on Life, I know that was kind of divisive from us, but that was like the Rick and Morty team, comedic first person shooter.
I understand why people are into that too. I don't want to like poo poo on it. It's just that comedy has like never hit.
I've never watched a single episode of Rick and Morty, so like the humor is just that's secondary to me. I just like the overall crazy nature. I like when first person shooters take a different take on things. Like that's when Borderlands first came around. Like that was so different, and it really hit home for me. Flintlock looks unbelievably cool.
Oh my god,
Flintlock.
yeah. That might be my like surprise game of show.
Yeah, I agree.
It just looks so good.
Araban looks really cool as well. Lightyear Frontier.
Plague's Tale, the sequel to Plague's Tale.
Yeah, Plague's Tale.
The like deep dive that we got into Diablo 4 got me feeling some kind of way. Like, that was
Diablo
very
4
unexpected as well. That I
also Diablo 4 looks like the game. Like it looks like I loved Diablo 3. I put a ton of time into it, but it totally does look like the Diablo game that I wanted when Diablo 3 was announced.
Well, and the nice thing is I like the idea with Diablo 4 when they showed it is they finally looked at the market of what's available, because at the time, you got to remember when Diablo 3 was made, the biggest competition to them was really Torchlight. And so they really went for this kind of like, loot was the big thing in Diablo 3. And
like a more cartoony.
Yeah, it was the cartoony vibe, I think.
And then whereas
it felt more
Diablo's always been loot.
Yeah. And then Path of Exile is now kind of when you look at people
and
when you look at that, they took a lot of aspects from that though. Like when they showed us those like the actual skill trees, like that. But people love that in Path of Exile. Like the skill tree system in Path of Exile is probably one of the most in-depth skill tree systems out there for game like that. And the idea that they're taking pointers from that is really neat to see. And the idea that they made it an open world, which was another real cool aspect on that.
I'm not clear, I guess, on like what they actually mean by that, right? Like, because I think it's technically, I guess, aside from chapters, like all of the areas of Diablo 4 were open, right? So I wonder if they mean like an actual open world.
Yeah, so
I'm assuming they're meaning Elden Ring kind of thing, right?
They talked about it. They said that you don't have to follow a set path for like the story.
Yeah, there's no story path.
You can go out in any direction, and like you're like Kory said, kind of like Elden Ring. You're like going into these dungeons and you're rescuing these towns and creating settlements and stuff like that. It's not as linear. Like every Diablo before, it's been like, all right, you got Act 1, you do chapter 1 through 5, and then you got Act 2, and even though the areas
you go through this
open,
area into this area, and then
progress it in the same way. And it sounds like this is non-linear progression. Which
what was that like shadow game? Did anybody write that down?
That was that Ravenlock or Araban?
No. Ravenlock was the other game. Was the like
Araban?
Araban, yeah. That game looks fucking so good.
Yeah. I'm into it.
So just I want to add to when we talk about Game Pass, just because I know during the talk we had talked about the idea of like, as a PC only person, I've always never wanted to get Game Pass. Yep. And I looked it up while we were doing the conference, and there was only 97 games available to people that are only PC.
Only 97 games, jeez.
Out of the 97 games that I've looked at, there are 4 that I would play.
Okay,
you looked at all 97 games?
How many of these games that they announced are coming to.
And that's that, but this is the big. This is what I was going to go into. Is that this is the first time as a PC only person for Game Pass that this is like, holy cow, this is crazy. Because every single game they launched there, they said it would come to PC, cloud. A lot of them were PC, cloud, and Xbox console, or just PC and cloud. And the idea that cloud was getting a lot of games too. And like I said, this makes me go, I could subscribe. I don't feel bad buying a year of Game Pass in September and feeling like I got my money out of it.
I am genuinely curious what the just 4 games you would play out of the
Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Evolutions 2. I already have 7 Days to Die. Already played the shit out of Age of Empires, so I'm going to do that. What was it? Darkest Dungeons I already own.
I'm just asking the 4 that you
Sorry, Empire of Sin.
I don't give a shit about the other games that you're not going to play.
Yeah, sorry. Empire of Sin. Jurassic World Evolution 2. What was the other one here?
Because just looking at the list, like I just popped open my
Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler. Yeah. And then what was the other? Last one's down at the bottom here. State of Decay 2. And
awesome.
We could customize our characters in Diablo 4.
Yeah, holy shit.
That's exciting.
Yeah, this conference had a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and they said a lot of good stuff.
100%.
I think the biggest thing, and we haven't touched on this at all yet, is where has been like the number one market the Xbox has struggled to penetrate? Japan. Japan.
And they got Kojima.
And they got Kojima and the last 3 Persona games.
Yep.
Like that's massive.
And they got Nakata Blade.
Naraka.
And they got the new
Chinese
Team Ninja
developer,
game. Yeah, and the new but I mean, and the new Team Ninja game.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
well, I mean, that's their studio.
Phil Spencer is obviously like well aware that their market penetration in Japan is low, and that's why they struggle in global sales compared to Sony. Like that's the reason that the PS3 outsold the Xbox 360 eventually, right? It wasn't because of US market penetration.
No.
Because Xbox is like so prevalent here. It's because of Japan and Europe. Like Sony is just way more prevalent there. And so doubling down and really putting an emphasis on the Japanese games and Japanese marketplace, I think is huge and shows that
they're listening.
Xbox feels like they can be a global brand. And I think what they're doing is definitely moving them in the right direction.
100%.
One of the things that I think is a huge takeaway from this showcase, and we'll kind of wrap it up there. We'll get your thoughts on it as well. But I think what this has proved to me is that when Xbox had all of these studios, right? They had like their big list of their first party studios was like, 30 studios. They've proved in this that they could possibly have all of these studios make very high quality games. It's no longer, the big 3 that you're going to be waiting for every 4 years or whatever it is. Like I believe in their model now. I believe in their development. They showed a lot of really cool stuff.
Right.
PlayStation, I think, is gonna have a hard time matching up. Not that they have to, but I think PlayStation's first party studios, we know that we get like between 3 and 5 really, really big ones. And I think Xbox might, this generation have anywhere between 15 and 25 at this point. And I think that's huge. That was something they absolutely, because they could talk about how many studios they have and all the purchases in the world until they showed us this, where we saw the fruits of at least 6 of those studios, maybe 7, and they're all coming supposedly in the next 12 months. Like, that is huge for people who were skeptical about what they, because remember, when they bought all these studios, they were still canceling games. Taking people off of games. Things were in turmoil. Like, we didn't see Perfect Dark. We didn't see Fable. And I don't care that we didn't, because look at this. Like,
100%. Yeah, I got to agree that the big thing that was a big opener for me with this is Microsoft. Like, I know I'm dedicated as the Sony pony probably in this pile of peeps here, but for Xbox though, the biggest problem I've always had with Xbox is they would always have these conferences where like everyone says, they would show these games going, this is our next 4 years or 3 years, and when they showed off the Xbox One launch and they had all these amazing games and they were canceled left, right, and center. And I'm kind of glad that, you know what, we're not seeing a Perfect Dark again. We're not seeing a Fable. If they're not ready to come out and they're not going to be good, you know what, I would rather other teams go somewhere else and we get game quality like we saw today.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I would rather see here's my 12 months. This is the games that are coming out. This is us put their money where they can see profit in it, not here, let's push out a Fable because we have the IP.
Get real excitement, not just, get tangible excitement, not just IP excitement.
Yeah,
100%.
And unlike Sony, I feel like with Sony at these major conferences, we need to get an update from like 40 to 50% of their studios every single year, right? And that's a lot of churn because they don't have a ton of studios. Like, that means they have to have teams working on multiple projects and putting out multiple things in order for people to, like, be satisfied with what's going on. With Xbox, we don't have to hear from that new studio that's working on Perfect Dark. We don't have to hear from the Gears of War team for 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
right, because they have the volume. They have the volume to carry them. Yep.
Exactly. We hear from each of these studios every 4 or 5 years. And it's fine, and we don't feel like there's a drop in quality between each of these because they have so much.
Yeah.
And especially when they add in the Activision Blizzard merger, like, they're set. And they are going to be able to put out a banger conference every single year, and it will be meaty and substantiative like this one was.
I am so happy we didn't see not one single just frame of a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a really good point.
Like, yay. Or Madden. Whatever. All right, folks, that's going to do it for our post-conference, post-games showcase thoughts. If you like it, please stick around here on youtube.com/dualscreens TV. We love you, and as always, be excellent to each other.